Hello, I'm Chime Wongmo, and I've been associated with the Dharma Center for over 50 years. I'd like to speak a little bit about the 5 precepts. These are the first trainings that are important to establish for moral conduct that helps the mind, actually develops the mind and character that is needed for the path to enlightenment. Now these precepts, 5 precepts, are for laity and also the basis of all the ordained orders, which are more than 5. But at any rate, these 5 form the most important trainings or practices, because we train ourselves, so we must practice. They are based on the principle of non-harming. And the 5 are: we undertake to train ourselves to refrain from harming and killing all sentient beings. The second one is I undertake to train myself to refrain from taking that which is not freely given. In other words, theft or stealing. The third one was we undertake to train ourselves to refrain from indulging in sense misconduct and also sexual activity. Unwholesome sexual activity. The fourth one is we undertake to train ourselves to refrain from false speech, which is of 5 kinds, and I'll go over them in more detail a bit. And then the 5th one is to refrain from taking substances, normally called intoxicants, that cloud the mind and cause heedlessness. So in the first one, harming and non-killing, this is a marvelous training. It's actually all the 5 precepts are a profound meditation, compassion, and kindness. And so we have to, when we start training, because we can only train ourselves, nobody can train us. They can point to the training, but in the end we have to do the work. We have to enlarge our view, and it starts from very obvious non-harming and non-killing and goes to more subtle forms. And so we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions. How are we harming? How are we killing? And of course we know by the results. All the trainings of the precepts require awareness, patience, because we're not until enlightenment. We need to purify our view, to enlarge our view, so that it encompasses not just ourselves but all beings. The second, not taking what is not freely given. In other words, it has to be obviously given to us, and not is there just because it's there. It's not for us to take, to take for granted. Mm-hmm. The third one, the importance there is to refrain from overindulging in the senses, mm-hmm. And then also to be mindful of refraining from unwholesome sexual activity, because the aspect here is energy. How are we using our energy? Mm-hmm. And the fourth one, false speech, has 5 aspects. We refrain from telling lies. And this is very important because what we say to others, it's part of how we create community. If we lie, we are not to be trusted. So it breaks our connection to the community in our relationship with others. The second one is to refrain from abusive speech. The point of all this is that when you lie, when you speak abusively, you are harming yourself first, and without you are harming others, even though you may not even touch them. The third one is a harsh speech. So we learn to refrain from that because that is also upsetting, and the same thing is true. It stems from a mind that is unwholesome, to speak harshly and not respectfully or considerately to others. The fourth one is gossip, to gossip about others, slander, etc. And this again, breaks down the trust and the sense of community. Mm-hmm. And then the fifth one is talk to no purpose, idle chitter-chatter, and a lot of that takes place. Mm-hmm. Now, the important things about speech, and this is one of the first things that we practice, is correct speech, and be mindful of our speech, is that motivation is the most important thing, because there are some times when we have to tell the truth would be harmful. So we have to, tell a non-truth that may appear to be a lie, but is actually non-harming. So the motivation depends on whether it is wholesome motivation or unwholesome meditation. If it's unwholesome, it's wrong speech. If it's wholesome motivation, it's right speech. So we always have to look at our motivation. When we come to harsh speech, sometimes strong words need to be used to help a person out of danger. Mm-hmm. And because the motivation is not hate or anger, but actually compassion. So this is very important to know and to learn. And then when that is appropriate. And the fourth one is gossip. Sometimes we need to gossip in order to actually build a relationship with people initially, to talk to each other about somebody else that we know, perhaps, but not in an unwholesome way. And then the fifth one is talk to no purpose. Sometimes we have to, talk to someone about things that normally would not talk about, maybe politics or something else. But what we're trying to do is to build a connection, a relationship with the person we're speaking to, which is so important. Now, the Buddha said that if you weren't sure, then speak Dharma or other hold noble silence. Mm-hmm. The fifth one is that usually the interpretation is to refrain from taking intoxicants, and mostly liquor is referred to, but it applies to much more than that. It could be caffeine, it could be sugar, it could be all sorts of things that cloud the mind and cause heedlessness, and that would harm oneself and others. So these are the obvious, and they go from the obvious to the very, very subtle. And during this process, it opens up into a vaster view, a universal view. We learn that all beings wish to be well and happy. Every life is precious. And so our understanding deepens, mm-hmm, and opens our hearts and minds so that we have a more universal view and a less selfish view, a more inclusive view of all beings, and see them that just as we are, so are they. All beings wish to be happy. So these trainings also cultivate many other aspects of the teaching that help us unfold, and may also, of course, cut right through, gradually, with patience, the roots of suffering, which are greed, hatred, delusion, confusion, and ignorance. So they form the foundation, the feet of the teaching. Without these, we cannot make good progress or easeful progress to overcome the suffering and attain to a liberation from it.